This week on the Trent Out Loud Podcast. When you have minorities, when you have people of color sinking, stuck at sea, or dying, then we don't hear any coverage about it. They're trapped in this vessel, lost, and people don't feel sorry for them just because they're rich. All right, I got a jam-packed podcast for you guys today. I'm going to talk about Cardi B and the billionaire who's lost at sea, Sun. I'm also going to talk about the refugee ship that had 700 refugees that was lost at sea. And lastly, I'm going to talk about people's opinion of the rich people that are on the Submersal that's lost at sea. All right, so normally when I do a podcast, I take one topic and I talk about that topic. But today, there's so much going on with the Submersal, and everyone's talking about the refugee ship that was lost at sea. People are talking about the rich people, and they're giving their opinions on rich people, doing stupid things, and people don't feel sorry for their for them being stuck at sea. So I just thought it would be easier to just cover three all in one podcast. So sit tight. This is going to be a little bit longer of a podcast than I normally do. Let's start off with Cardi B and the billionaire's son. So, for those of you who don't know, one of the men who are lost at sea, his stepson went to a Blink 182 concert. I think it was Wednesday night, and he was also. Somebody also found a tweet of him kind of flirting with a girl on OnlyFans who he claims that he knows and he tweets her often. So Cardi B jumped on live on her Instagram and was like, she was like, yo, I would rather be poor and have somebody care about me and have my family love me than to be a billionaire and nobody cares. Because the stepson is like, yo, I don't want to sit down at home depressed. I can't go into the ocean. I can't go to the bottom of the ocean. There's nothing I could do to help save my stepfather. So instead of sitting home depressed, I decided to go to see my favorite group. And Cardi B is like, yo, you should be at home crying in your pillow. You should be, watching TV. You should be calling, trying to find out what's going on. And I understand what Cardi B is saying. I get it, right? But you cannot take, this Submersal was lost at sea from Monday. Yeah, we all heard about it on Wednesday, 48 hours later. Not that we all heard about it, but it became like a national story. And now Thursday, 3 days later, of course, everybody in the world knows it. But you don't know what this kid went through the Sunday night when he found out about it, the Monday and the Tuesday. And although I understand what she's saying, because I wouldn't be able to go to my favorite concert knowing that my stepfather or anybody in my family is lost at sea, but I have gone through enough therapy to know that everybody deals with stress, anxiety, trauma differently. There's been people that have gone to funerals and they're laughing at funerals. I have actually seen people hysterically laughing and joking around at a funeral while everybody was crying, but that's how that person deals with their trauma. And who knows what they're doing behind closed doors. I have a cousin of mine that's very strong-minded and strong-willed and, never cries. And, there was a death in our family and, that's somebody who he was close to, and he's not a crier. He's not an emotional person. I'm always like, I feel like you're blocking your emotions. And I'm a crier. I'm not saying I cry every day or I'll cry like at movies or whatever, but somebody passes away, at that funeral, I was crying while he wasn't crying. And I just feel like everybody deals with their trauma differently. And I just don't think it's fair of Cardi to assume that he doesn't love his stepfather because he's not at home miserable and in a wreck. Like I said, I would be, but I just don't think that means that man doesn't love his stepfather. I kind of think the Twitter thing is more of a tell that maybe there's some disconnect in the relationship. I don't know if I'd be on Twitter flirting with, an OnlyFans model. I know he also did say that he only has $100 in his bank account. So if my stepfather's is a billionaire and I only have $100 in my account, then, obviously that relationship is a little bit, rocky. But again, like I said, after 3 or 4 days of somebody being lost at sea, if you're like, hey man, I'm going to get on Twitter and I'm going to, do whatever. Look at DC Youngfly and, his fiance just passing away. He's like, look, I'm a God-fearing man. I what did he say? He said it was he I don't want to misquote him, but it was more like he believes in spirit more than the flesh. And, who we are as the flesh is not the person he loves. And his fiance is still here because of the spirit. So, and he believes that from his faith. So not that he's not missing his wife, his fiance, but he could still go on because, he believes in the spirit of her more than the flesh of her. But that's just another example to just say everybody deals with their pain differently. Okay, so that's Cardi and the billionaire son. Now, I want to talk about a lot of people being on social media, a few saying, man, I don't feel sorry for those 5 people that are stuck in the bottom of the ocean. I don't feel sorry for those rich people who are in the Submersal, who, by the way, as I'm doing this Thursday at 10 a.m., reports are that they have officially, technically ran out of air, oxygen, and the carbon dioxide that they're breathing out will kill them by this time, which is 96 hours. And a lot of people are like, yo, how could these rich people pay, $250,000 to go in this Submersal that's controlled by a $30 Logitech, and I don't feel sorry for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like that's unfair, because just because someone is rich and they can afford to pay $250,000 doesn't mean that they're still not human. You know what I mean? Like, I think people think that because you're rich means that, that means you have to be smart, or that means that you have to make intelligent decisions. Just because, I don't think I would have gone on the Submersal, but it's not like it was like my neighbor made a Submersal and you're like, hey, you're an idiot. This is a company, the CEO is on a Submersal. This is, I was watching CNN, and because it left from Canada, it didn't have to pass any US regulations, and Canada doesn't have any regulations with ships or submersals. Don't quote me on that, but there's somehow that they were able to get by the regulations. And I'm the type of person who, I wouldn't go in that, whether it was regulated, not regulated, or whatever. I'm not doing that stuff. That's just me. But these people who are on there, it's not like they're, oh man, I'm a billionaire and I have nothing to do this Sunday, so I'm just going to the bottom of the ocean. These people are explorers. This is what they do. They're adventure seekers. They want to go to the moon. They want to, go to the bottom of the ocean. Richard Branson is one of the most known explorers in the world. He's I think it's SpaceX, or I don't know if that's Elon Musk, but they're trying to go to the moon. There's people out there that want to explore the world and go to the highest mountain and go, and they know that they're risking their lives, but that's what they like. And I just feel it almost disgusting that you can have 5 humans, whether they be poor, middle class, rich, or uber rich, or billionaires, and to know that they're trapped in this vessel, lost. And people don't feel sorry for them just because they're rich. Just because you're rich doesn't mean that, that you always make the best decisions. And just because somebody is rich and they made a poor decision and didn't, maybe, go through the, make sure that this company, Ocean Gate, went through all their protocols, or maybe they skipped corners. And like I said, the CEO is on the ship, right? But yes, there's reports that, they skip corners, and they kind of maybe did some things that were shady. But just because you're rich doesn't mean that you make the best decisions. And just because you're rich and don't make the best decisions just doesn't mean that you can't be empathetic towards somebody losing their life. So I just think that that's really cold of people to get online while these people are suffocating in a submersal at the bottom of the ocean. I feel that's just wrong. And I hate to see that stuff. All right. Thirdly, I want to tread lightly on this because I don't have all the information. I don't know too much about it. I asked some people online to send me some articles. So I don't know how much I trust the sources and etc. Normally when I report something, like I want it to come from a credible source, like MSNBC, Fox News, or CNN, or somewhere like that I know is a reputable source. But I'm going to try to talk about it. Actually, let me just read it because I don't want to make any mistakes. Pakistan on Monday widened its search for human traffickers after a tragedy off the Greek coast last week that left more than 500 migrants feared drowned, including many Pakistanis, officials say. The fishing boat capsized June 16th, 47 miles southwest of Greece after leaving Libya. It was bound for Italy, according to Greek officials, but the boat engine died before arriving at the port. Hundreds of people remain missing in the aftermath of the shipwreck off the coast of Greece. So far, only 104 survivors have been found, none of them women or children who were allegedly kept in the hold of the ship. Questions remain over the role of the Greek coast guards in the incident and why the onboard were not rescued sooner. There's protests in Greece right now to find the survivors of the shipwreck. So basically, there was a fishing boat, and what they're saying, like I said, the details are not yet like super clear. But there was a fishing boat with close to 500 or 600 people on it. And the thing is that the boat was smuggling refugees. So they had engine troubles, and the Coast Guard came to them when they were stuck at sea. I think they were stuck or stopped at sea. And the Coast Guard asked them if they wanted any help, and they said, no, we're good, don't worry about us. The reason why they couldn't say that they wanted help is because they were smuggling people. They were human traffickers. So the Coast Guard was like, are you sure? Back and forth, back and forth. So because they didn't want to get help, they were there stranded at sea, and then apparently the ship sank and people have died. And like I said, so far there's only 104 survivors. And people are making a big uproar about this because they're saying, where is the news coverage when there are, there's 5 white billionaires, in a submersal who actually paid to go on. But you had a story last week with 500 or 600 refugees trying to escape poverty and trying to escape bad conditions to go somewhere else to have a better life. And the news coverage doesn't say anything about it, and we don't hear about it. It's not a national story. And now, because of the Submersal going down, now you're starting to hear rumbles online saying, so you guys care about 5 white rich people that pay to go on something, but when you have brown people, when you have minorities, when you have people of color, sinking, stuck at sea, or dying, then we don't hear any coverage about it. And look, man, I have been on this podcast, and I feel like I'm always trying to do my best to stand up for, indigenous, trans rights, homosexual rights, black rights, just equality for all. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted this story, even though I don't know all the details about it. And I always try to see both sides of the story, but when I look at this, I try to see the both sides of the story. And, there's 2 things. One, people make a news story. The reason why this Submersal is such a big story is because we, the public, made it a big story. Like I said, I saw it on CNN as just one little story, I think on Tuesday. And then as you started seeing traction, media picks it up and they're like, hey, people are talking about this and they want to cover it. And of course, this is, the Submersal is in North America, and we're hearing the story, of course, coming out of North America and then went globally. So I don't know what kind of coverage was happening in Europe or in Greece or in Pakistan, and this was a bigger story, and now we're just getting it in North America. But I do think that it is horrible to know that you have refugees, people that are in horrible conditions, trying to make their way to get a better life and escape extreme poverty or corrupt governments, and so forth. And you have 500-600 people on a ship, and you have these human traffickers that are more concerned with themselves and saving themselves than saving the people on the ship. If that's not a news story, if that's not a story that should be global, then of course I 100% agree that a story of 5 rich people who paid to go on a submersal is stuck at the bottom of the sea. Both should be stories. And I understand that one is stuck at sea, and there's a time, and it's a rescue mission, and the other one is people on a boat doing some shady things, and they're refusing help. But at the end of the day, regardless of what's going on with their shadiness and the Coast Guard or whatever, that should be a national story. That should be something that we should bring attention to. So I just wanted to make sure that I mention it on my podcast, and hopefully this turns into a bigger story, and we could push this to become a national story so that we could bring more attention to it, so that we can get the answers and find out really what's going on. And first and foremost, catch the human traffickers, those human smugglers, who are smuggling these people across waters, and not caring, for their well-being while at sea. So I just want to bring attention to that and just give you, my thoughts. So in conclusion, today's podcast is really about just having empathy, man. You know what I mean? Just, whether you're a billionaire's stepson, whether you're a rich billionaire that can afford to go on a submersal, or whether you are, a refugee trying to escape, or a Coast Guard, seeing a boat in distress, or a human trafficker, looking out for themselves. I just think that if we can all just have more empathy and start treating all of us as equal, whether you're poor, whether you're rich, whether you're middle class, whether you're black or you're brown or white, I just think if we just all looked at each other as a human race and treated each other like a human race and not of our appearance on the outside, I think that we could have a better world. So that's why I wanted to couple these 3 stories together, because they're all separate incidences and they're all separate mind states. But when you really strip it down, it's all just about having empathy and understanding, and just giving humans grace. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy, Trent Out Loud. Peace!